Good day, and welcome to another episode of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I'm your host, the voice of reason. So, I wanted to talk about a subject that kind of went under the radar around the world. And it's not really a subject that probably would be noticed unless you were looking at this subject and trying to gain an understanding of why a country would need such an asset. And the asset we're talking about is a Republican Guard. Well, back in 2018, Ethiopia, to protect Abiy Ahmed, decided that it needed a Republican Guard. And in 2018, started the creation of a Praetorian Guard force to protect the office of the Prime Minister. And this force would be answerable only to the Prime Minister of Ethiopia. So where else has Republican Guard units been used? Well, let's look around. Obviously, we know about the Republican Guard that Saddam Hussein used for many, many years to protect his regime. He not only had a Republican Guard, but he also had a special Republican Guard that was based in Baghdad. And then the regular Republican Guard of up to 75 to 100,000 men operated in other areas of the country. Where else has there been a Republican Guard? Syria. The Syrian regime also operates a Republican Guard. And yeah, you guessed it. It's designed to protect the regime of Mr. Assad. And it protected his father, Mr. Assad. So why would Ethiopia need a Republican Guard force? And this force is not like we would say the Secret Service of the United States. That is not a militarized force. It is more of a law enforcement force. And I'm speaking of the U.S. Secret Service, which has dual missions. It has both the mission to protect the President of the United States, but it also serves other law enforcement missions as well, such as preventing counterfeit of the United States dollar. But in Ethiopia, the Republican Guard is a militarized entity, a militarized force that is somewhat classified, and we believe that it is at least a reinforced battalion in strength. It possesses armored vehicles. We know it operates Soviet or Russian-made BRDM-2s that are armed with heavy machine guns, and then they have other light armored vehicles, trucks. It's interesting that the service rifle appears to be some sort of designated marksman type of rifle, probably a 308 round with scopes. And then we've seen them also with anti-material rifles and a host of other weapon systems as well. So this is a very militarized force designed to possibly counter other militarized forces, and it would definitely be of good use against citizenry who would be protesting against said regime if the citizenry ever felt that that regime was not in their best interest. But again, Ethiopia has created a Republican Guard force that is separate from the Ethiopian Defense Force, it takes its orders directly from Abiy Ahmed and answers directly to Abiy Ahmed. The general in charge answers to Abiy Ahmed. So the question is, how large is this force going to grow to? Is it going to be eventually the only military force allowed inside of Addis Ababa, much like the Republican Guard units that existed in Iraq, in Syria. But the idea, the concept, dates back to, I would say, a Roman Praetorian Guard that was designed to protect the emperor, that responded directly to the emperor's orders. And as we know, eventually the Praetorian Guard became so powerful in Rome that it could unseat the emperor and it could put in who it believed should be emperor. So this is both an interesting and dangerous path for Ethiopia, because this could go many different ways. It could protect and prolong a disliked regime. It could possibly remove the regime and become the regime. But this is what Republican guards tend to do.